Hello, my name is Sarah Boyd, and I'm the president and founder of Operation Truth Vaccination Exposure Research. Today, we're doing an interview with Kevin Thompson II, our web designer here at Operation Truth. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you grew up, and why you joined the military.
Hi, Sarah. My name's Kevin Thompson II. I'm 45 years old. I've been married for 22 years to my lovely wife, Wendy. I have 4 children. They range from the ages 19, 17, 15, and 10. We live in what you can call the country for New England. There's not a lot of country here, but there is a lot of farming in the area. I grew up with my grandfather farming. My father worked at a mill, and we lived in a small town called Dalton. And then as I got a little bit older, we moved to a small city, one hop over the border, called Pittsfield, Mass. And as I grew up, I had an interest in aviation. I always wanted to go to air shows. I was always building model jets, and I was watching all the movies that had the fighter jets in them. And as I got older, I didn't really have a career path. I was working as a retail manager and just didn't see it going anywhere, and decided to sign up for the Navy after one of my friends signed up. And I went into the recruiter and told the recruiter that I wanted orders for aviation. And I was one of those cases where the promise was kept, and I ended up working as an aviation machinist mate in the Navy.
Nice. What an amazing career. Please tell us more about that. But before you do, what was your favorite fighter movie that got you into wanting to learn more and be in aviation?
As a child, I have to admit that I overly watched Top Gun and Iron Eagle, like probably 100 too many times.
Nice.
And if you haven't seen the new Top Gun, definitely go out and see that, because that one's even better than the first one.
Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it myself, so much so that the group I was with, we ended up watching the old one right after we watched the new one in the theater. It was great
cool.
Yeah, it was great to see the two and just how much they have progressed in the story, and it was a great story. So I can understand why that would be a motivator for you as a child. So please tell us more about your aviation career in the Navy.
So my first 4 years was a command with the Red Rippers, Fighter Squadron 11. And I was attached to a squadron of F-14s, just like Top Gun. I just got lucky. And I worked as an aviation machinist mate. That's Navy lingo for jet engine mechanic and fuel systems. And I dabbled with electronics too. And I did that for 4 years, where I saw 3 deployments and supported various campaigns and saw combat towards the end. And then I re-enlisted, and I moved next door, like literally next door inside the same hangar, to Fighter Squadron 101, which is the Grim Reapers. And they were the training squadron for F-14s, where new pilots go and new sailors go to train before they go into commands that are going to be in combat. And when I was at VF 101, I worked with younger sailors to train them and get them ready for their career. And I did that for almost another 4 years. It was just shy of 4 years. And then that command decommissioned. And when they decommissioned, my second enlistment happened to be up at the same time. And I got out of the Navy in October of 2005.
October 2005. So how long were you in?
Just shy of 8 years. So it was like 7 years and 10 months or something like that.
So if I did the math correctly, I believe you would have been in during the duration of the Anthrax vaccine immunization project or program from 97 to the early 2000s. Do you recall getting the anthrax vaccine as part of your readiness or before you deployed?
I didn't get it as readiness. I was deployed out to the John C. Stennis because when I joined the Red Rippers, they were already deployed on the aircraft carrier, and they were over in the Persian Gulf at the time. So I hopped a jet and flew all the way over there and caught up with them. And then during our journey on the John C. Stennis, that's when they rolled out the orders for everybody to take the vaccine. And they told us if we didn't take it, that you would get court-martialed.
Oh, wow. So what was that like?
There's a lot of us that were unsure because we didn't know anything about the vaccine. Back in 1998, you didn't have the internet that you have today available to you on the big ships. So we had no way to do our own research. The news that we had to depend on was just coming through on CNN. So it was like whatever they wanted to show us. And if they didn't want to show us something, they could easily just put something else on the television that they broadcast on the ship. There were also pilots. One pilot in particular, he decided he wasn't going to take it, and they demoted him. They knocked him down a rank. And if I remember correctly, he was a lieutenant commander, and they knocked him back down to lieutenant. And he had to work his way back up again. He finished his time in the command, but to today, I don't recall what he's doing. I think he's working for JetBlue now, but I haven't heard from him.
So a definite military career ender for him, but it seems that he was able to still have a career after the military. Unfortunate, they do make it that way in the military, and it seems even in the civilian sector now. You either do what you're told, or we're going to take money, rank, your job away from you. And it's unfortunate that we're still seeing that same tactic today in our vaccination process. How many anthrax vaccines did you get, and do you have the lot numbers annotated in your records?
I received the series of 6. I didn't get any boosters after the 6, but I got a full series. And I do have my lot numbers annotated in my record. Probably not so much surprisingly to me. The lots that were given to us on the John C. Stennis were FAV 20. So those are some of the lots that were found to be tainted with squalene. And then there were other questionable lots that were recorded in my medical record. And by the time I was ready to discharge in 2005, I had been seeing odd differences in my health. They thought I had arthritis in my wrists at a young age. I was still in my late 20s, and there was no explanation for that. And I started getting migraines on a daily basis, and there's no explanation for that. The only explanation they had for the pain in my body was due to a service injury where I struck myself in the back with an engine bay door when the aircraft carrier turned very quickly one day, and one of the engine bay doors fell down and hit me. But all the other symptoms, they could not connect the dots, and they told me I just had arthritis at a young age. And when I realized that there was something going on with this and there was a little more to it, I actually hijacked my medical record and took off with it on the last day. So I have my original medical record sitting right here in my house with me.
As you should be, because that is your record and you should have that information. And it's unfortunate that so many of us veterans don't, because it's critical to have that evidential piece to say, yes, I did receive this vaccination and these are the lot numbers. And it hopes in the future that those will be a critical piece in finding just exactly what's causing the damage. So how soon after your vaccinations did you start having these things occur?
So the first series of the shots were 1998 while we were on the John C. Stennis. And then, if I recall correctly, you had to get one every couple of months and then 6 months boosters or something like that. I forgot how the campaign went. I'd have to read up on it again. But after that, it took a couple of years. I had an adverse reaction immediately, but it was more of just like pain because it's intramuscular when they give you that shot, and it was red and swollen to about 3 to 4 inches around, and there was a lot of heat, and they just told us that was normal. That happened to everybody, and it went away after a little time. It took about a week or two. A couple years later, that's when I started to notice that there was something going on with my wrists, and they said it was the arthritis. That took about 2 years. Around the same time, the migraines started to happen, and then when I was at VF 101 around the year 2003 or so, there really wasn't any difference in symptoms. I seemed to be able to make it through the rest of my career okay, but I was getting acupuncture and chiropractic care from the Navy. That's something that they treated me with to help me along. And of course, they gave me plenty of Motrin 800. And when I got out in 2005, that's when it really hit me. In October 2005, when I got out, shortly thereafter, I was unable to pick up a gallon of milk and hold it. I was unable to hold my newborn children as babies. There was a lot of limiting factors, and this sensation that I was getting in my wrists that they said was arthritis seemed to travel to all my other major joints that were in my body. So it went to my ankles first, and then it went to my knees, and then the wrist area started to flare up even worse. And it started to make it so I had a hard time working part-time. But somehow I pushed through all that and went through the VA's VOC rehab program. And I went back to college and I got a bachelor's degree in computer science.
Oh, wow. What a great accomplishment to go ahead and get that education, that critical education after your military service. So tell us a little bit about your veteran life and how has the VA treated you? Have they been able to pinpoint what is causing these issues and what other therapies are helping you along the way?
So as I got out of college, I went to work as an engineer for a local Department of Defense contractor that's pretty big across the country. And I was only able to work with them for about 2 years. And then I had to medically retire because I just, my body just couldn't handle the stress of working anymore. And I was bedbound for 2 or 3 days at a time. And chronic fatigue started to set in very heavily. That was another symptom that we started to notice coming on as I was going through the period of college. And after I retired and filed for disability, the VA finally started to take me seriously. It seems like anything before that, they were trying to tell me things were just in my head, go get some mental therapy, try listening to some Zen music, maybe you need to get outside more. And I kept telling them that music is my favorite therapy. I love being outdoors. I'm a nature freak. I love hiking. I just can't hike anymore. My body can't handle it. But they wouldn't listen. They just said, oh, you need more exercise. You need to get back in shape again like you were when you were in the military. And I went from one doctor to another. And that seems to be a problem in the region that I live in because the city of Pittsfield is so small. We have an outpatient clinic, and the nearest actual VA hospital is about a 45 or 50-minute ride in either direction. There's 2 of them. One's over in New York and one's in a town called Northampton, still in Massachusetts. But when you go to this outpatient clinic in Pittsfield, the doctors either retire or they get pushed out of the job for one reason or another and get replaced. And then when the new doctor comes in, you have to start all over again and explain everything from the beginning. And it's very frustrating as a veteran having to explain everything all over again repeatedly to numerous doctors because it feels like no one's listening and you have to completely start over. And nobody wants to start over when you're trying to get treatment. So that's my immediate experience with the VA. And it wasn't until I got on disability where they started to take me seriously.
You are so correct in that we are heavily in need of that continuity of care throughout the VA. And it seems to be the same a bit in the civilian sector as well. It's just the turnaround of doctors is astronomical. To be able to see the same specialist for more than one session for continuative care is just, it seems obsolete now in our modern day world of healthcare system in this nation, and it's unfortunate, and we definitely need to do something about that and changing the way that we see healthcare and approaching it as a whole body system. As you and I very well know, as chronic multi-symptom illness patients, it's a challenging case file with a multitude of different levels to it involving every body system. So with that being said, do you have any involvement with your autoimmune and your neurological systems? Any symptoms involving tremors or your body attacking itself on a cellular level? Or you have issues with your white blood count or your platelets or anything of that nature?
My labs are perfect besides a little bit of high cholesterol. and my blood sugar floats just outside of the high limits of whatever their tolerance is at the VA. Other than that, my labs are fine. I do experience tremors on a semi-daily basis, and they haven't been able to pinpoint what that is. I have brain fog issues. Sometimes I can't remember, what I'm about to say, or my focus will break and I won't be able to get back on task. Balance issues when the chronic fatigue kicks in really bad. They issued me a cane to walk with for days when it gets really bad. The list is so huge, we could sit here and discuss the symptoms all day long. But I believe the worst one for me has to be the chronic fatigue, because when that sets in, I'm out of commission for 2 or 3 days at a time. And it doesn't take much. I can go outside. I always tell the doctor, as a scenario to explain, I cannot go outside and rake leaves for half an hour, because that simple task will put me out of commission for 2 to 3 days. And it's unfortunate that people don't understand this, because friends and family members come around the house and they still say things like, gee, maybe you should do more around the house because your wife is doing so much. Maybe you should pick up some slack a little bit. And they don't understand what it's like to experience this on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry that you don't have that support system from all of your family members, it seems. It's unfortunate that when individuals don't understand, they tend to say things that can be very hurtful, and they just don't realize it. Their intent might not have been to be hurtful, but it's still hurtful in the same regard. So I'm hoping that you are able to speak to them and let them know your feelings and emotions on that, because it can be quite damaging and toxic if they don't understand just exactly what it's like for a chronic multi-symptom illness patient every day, having to go through this magnitude of pain and inflammation. What do you find works to relieve that pain and inflammation on the daily?
So I'm taking vitamin B complex and vitamin D3 and CoQ10. Those are the major supplements that I seem to have luck with. On a really bad day, if I get tremors and it's out of control and I'm out in public somewhere or away from home where I can't lay down, for some reason, a quick intake of B vitamins and taurine seem to do the trick. So there's an energy drink out there where their proprietary mix has those in it. And I'll just take an energy drink and down it, and that seems to help. Mentally, I think my favorite things to do are listen to music. I have a large genre that I listen to, but my favorites are classic rock and 80s hair bands. So I'm still into those. And I like to get outdoors as much as possible because my yard is backed up against state property. And we're lucky enough to have a stream run through our yard, and we have a pond on our land and everything. So it's very peaceful where we live if I can make it outside and spend some time outdoors. And those are the things I do mostly to try to help with this. I try to walk, but you can only walk so far before you accidentally set off the chronic fatigue. As veterans that have these symptoms, it's very common for us to feel like, wow, I feel like Superman today and I can do anything. And we try to get everything done in one day. And it's very easy to overdo things and accidentally set yourself back off again. So one of the things I really needed to learn was how to pace myself. And I now limit myself to how many tasks I do around the house a day. Or if I do several tasks around the house, I may not go for a walk in the afternoon. Or if I do go for a walk in the afternoon, I might not try to do something else around the house. I might rest the rest of the day, so I don't push my body over those limits.
That is so important. Setting that pace, knowing your limits, and ensuring that you're staying within those limitations will help with your healing for sure. And it sounds like you have an amazingly gorgeous space to assist with that healing as well. It's so important to create that environmental space that we can control and assist in our healing, that helps us to de-stress and has that calming presence and allows us to have a space where we can minimize those stimuli and be able to heal. So it sounds like you have a great spot there. Before we dive into your support with your family life, could you explain a little bit more about what your tremors are like for you? And do you have gastroparesis at all?
My tremors seem to be on the left side of my body the whole time, but it's not necessarily just that side. Sometimes it's both sides of my body. And you can notice it the most if I try to hold my arm out straight and spread my fingers. On a really bad day, it gets to the point where if I try to use a fork and pick up food off a plate during dinner, and it's not something that you stab, it's more something that you scoop, like you're trying to scoop a bite of vegetables or something, the tremors will actually knock it all off the fork. And then I have to scoop it up again and try to take another bite. So it can be quite frustrating at times. As far as gastro issues, the most common problem that I seem to have is on and off symptoms with IBS, and I haven't been able to completely pinpoint that. I've done food allergy testing, and that did help. We found out I was allergic to oats and only slightly allergic to gluten. And my number one breakfast used to be granola. Whether it was a bowl of granola with milk, or I would take yogurt and I would throw granola on top of that. I loved granola, so I had to cut that completely out of my diet because there's so many different kinds of oats in that type of cereal. In the gluten, I just tend not to eat as much fresh breads. I'll go without it if I can. I still eat it, but that's not the number one thing that's contributing to this IBS problem. There's other things that seem to be underlying that they haven't found. Strangely enough, heat seems to be a major trigger to that. So if we have a hot day and I go outside and I'm trying to get some work done outdoors, mowing the lawn or something like that, it's not uncommon for me to have to come back inside and spend the rest of the afternoon inside.
Wow. That sounds like a very troubling and challenging medical condition that on top of many others. So do you have a hypothesis on what is causing these tremors and other medical challenges?
The only thing I can think of is a connection to the anthrax vaccine, because none of these symptoms were happening to me until the series was given to me. And I was as close to an athlete as you can get at a younger age. I was on a swim team. I used to mountain bike. I did running. And I was just generally all around in great shape. And everything started to go slowly downhill after the series. And after about 5 to 6 years after the series, that's when it really excelled and everything started to hit me really fast. So that's the only thing that I can put my finger on that happened to me in my life that could have triggered something like this.
Yeah, that seems to be the most logical deduction. I mean, you have to be healthy in order to join any military branch of the service. And so, and to be part of the Navy Aviation group, I imagine that you would need to be top of your top for both medical and physical. So it would lead us to believe that, more likely or not, that the medical conditions and challenges that you are experiencing have been caused by the anthrax vaccine or some form of the inoculation process during our military service. But with that being said, has the VA had you go through their Gulf War registry exam or placed through the War-Related Injury and Illness Study Center?
I actually put myself through the Gulf War registry exam, and they welcomed me with open arms, even though I was 1997 to 2005, because the campaign was still ongoing. So even though I wasn't in the 90 to 91 Gulf War, the dates for that campaign were left open, and because the dates of that campaign being open still by the VA, I was covered while I was in my command 97 through 2003 when I did all my deployments. So the Gulf War registry was done, and I went down to East Orange, New Jersey to risk, and they assessed me. And the biggest outcome of being down there was they said I was exposed to a lot of environmental exposure during my career. And they really couldn't pinpoint what was causing all this. They wouldn't set their finger on anything. I repeatedly asked them if it was the anthrax vaccine that seemed to be causing this. I showed them my medical record with those lot numbers in them. And I said, see, I received these lot numbers that have always been in question by veterans. And they said, well, you've been exposed to so many environmental exposures, it could be anything. And the reason why they said that is because there had been points in my career where I was exposed from the neck down with jet fuel. I used to wash aircraft as part of my duties, and the cleaning compound that we used to use was called Turco, Turco, and apparently that had some issues and they recalled it. They no longer use it in the military because it was causing a nerve reaction. So I was exposed to a lot of Turco. Now they always ask you if you're exposed to stuff like depleted uranium and oil wells and stuff like that, burn pits. All those were near us, but not necessarily direct exposure for me because I was on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. However, if you stop and think about where these aircraft fly and the ammunition that they're dropping and everything, when they come back, who knows what is on the surface of these aircraft? And one is in charge of washing and cleaning them. So you're exposed to the Turco, and then you're exposed to whatever environment the aircraft had been through, if there was anything on the aircraft at the time, in addition to being exposed to a lot of jet fuel. So there's a lot of environmental factors that went on that were told to me by risk. And they were good with opening up my eyes and having me realize how much I was exposed to. But going down there, I thought I was going to find the real answer so I could try to get better. And it's unfortunate that as a veteran, we're still trying to hunt for that answer and figure out how to resolve this problem.
It is unfortunate, and those individuals related research and study center are supposed to find those answers for us. They've been doing this research since the early 90s, so it is unfortunate. But what we are seeing and what they are admitting is that you don't have to be boots on the ground to be exposed to these environmental toxins. And until we have that critical medical research to determine what these vaccines are doing to the body, we may never have that answer. So I just want to say thank you so much for being part of Operation Truth and for understanding that we need to have more answers, and the only way to do so is through medical research and bringing awareness. So thank you so much for being a part of our team and realizing the importance of working together to accomplish our mission. With all the things that you have discussed today and all the challenges that you came up against, what's it like in your family life? Do you have a good support circle?
My immediate family and my household is great. It's unfortunate that my children also have symptoms, but we're all in this together and we are trucking along and pushing through it. So our immediate family in the household is our support group. Outside of our family, it doesn't seem to be so. We have some friends at church that support us if we need someone to talk to. But other immediate family members don't seem to understand the extent of the injury because it's something that you can't see.
It's so true. And we have so many different levels of invisible illness. It's truly difficult to express to our family and friends just what that looks like, especially when they're seeing us. We don't look ill. And on top of that, we're military veterans, so we have a different mindset that places us in a position where we can work through those challenges, I believe, in a different way than a majority of the civilian sector. So It's again unfortunate that your family is not your larger family outside of your inner circle are not more supportive, but perhaps one day they might be more supportive when they find out just exactly what these challenges are occurring to you. Perhaps this video and our video documentary that we're putting together will be that informational piece that will assist them in an understanding and being more supportive. What would you tell other veterans that are either newly veterans or new to chronic illness, or just trying to understand, what has caused their medical challenges and where to reach out for support?
I think if I had to tell a veteran one thing is don't give up, because I've certainly had those days where I was so bedbound and unable to move or do anything that I had to have somebody bring me dinners and bring me my meds and everything to the bedroom. And I wondered if that was going to be the end of me. And it took me a couple of years to get back to where I am right now. And I came to the conclusion that I don't think that's going to be the last time I'm in that scenario. I think I may have flare-ups like that again. So speaking to all the veterans that are out there watching this, I want you guys to understand that you're not alone, and there's other veterans just like you that are out there, and we all just need to network together. And if you need someone to talk to, you can reach us at operationtruth.net, or you can come on Facebook and look up our group, Operation Truth. And we're here to help you as much as possible. And if it gets to the point where you need someone to talk to, I'll give you guys my telephone number and you can call me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. That was some great advice. And thank you for sharing your story today. And I know that this information will definitely help more than one chronic illness patient get through their challenges. And thank you so much for allowing us to learn more about you and placing yourself in that vulnerable state of sharing your story and showing us the strength that you have to get through all of these medical challenges within a community that is so against us. So thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on and expressing all your medical challenges and just the strength that you have to get through them. Thank you so much, Kevin.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.